Welcome back to Film Study, an All American podcast. Uh, All American came back. Episode 12 came back strong, and I got to talk about it with my friend Jen. We know each other from a couple different platforms, but yeah, we had a really fun conversation talking about episode 12. So I hope that you enjoy it. So excited to have Jen here. I say so excited all of the time, but I'm gonna say it again. So excited to have Jen here. And we are talking about episode 12, which again, I don't even remember what the name of this episode was. What was it called? Fight the Power. That's what it was called. Yes. So anyway, episode 12, Fight the Power. So excited to have Jen here. Um, yeah. What were your thoughts? Your immediate thoughts on the episode, Jen?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a well written episode, I think. Well written episode.
It was it was a good change of pace, and I must say that this break felt longer than the others. Like we had a month and a half break the last time, but since
Yeah.
we had so few episodes, I think that made this break like that much longer.
No, I agree. I agree. It felt like forever.
Forever. For it was
Yeah.
it was only 2 weeks. Like that's insane, but yeah, and we're only getting one more episode before another break, but we'll find a way to survive it.
Yeah. I can't wait until the last break is over and then it's just like we're going to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, so okay, so we'll end this episode started out and we see that Laura is talking to Jordan and Simone about their marriage and she has the annulment papers and Simone's parents are there and Simone's mom takes this opportunity to say no, like we don't want Simone to get a divorce. What did you think about that?
Okay, first of all, sorry. Are we not gonna talk about how Simone's mom just changed?
Did she really?
Like that's a different like okay, the attitude was the same. Like the person has changed, but she has like Simone's mom's attitude down pat. Like
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because it wasn't a JP situation in which everybody was like, who is this?
yeah,
Yeah, no, she
yeah,
had the attitude. She had the like I don't know the vibe of Simone's mom really well
yeah.
because I did not even notice that.
No, she's different.
That's hilarious. But she played her really well because I was just like, ugh, Simone's mom again being ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah. I, I think that's the thing. Like she was like so annoying as Simone's mom that you didn't really pay attention to that fact that she's changed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. But the other thing is because I don't know I know a lot of the audience was like, "Yeah, like tell Laura off." And I don't really understand the Laura hate, but we'll get into that in a second. But they were just like, "Tell Laura off." Blah 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 blah. Twitter streets, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just like, but obviously the parents have spoken before now.
Uh-huh.
So why would Simone's mom wait until they literally had the kids sat down at the table? Like the papers were there, the annulment was almost set, and really all that they needed was a signature. And Simone's mom chose that moment to be like, it's gonna be a no from me.
Exactly. And like how is your child being married like as a teenager um something to like brag about, you know? I'm thinking like they both being a divorcee and being married as a teenager are both, you know, not seen in a good light. And wouldn't you
Yeah.
choose your child to be like single and like free over them being like tied to a man just because you don't want them to be divorced at 18, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, I get it. And we're gonna keep on this marriage thing. I was about to go into like what happened after this because this was the first part of the episode. We know that
Mm.
Liv, of course, like Laura kept getting calls interrupted because her office was calling her about the footage that was released, and Liv was right there and said, "I did it." and then she grounded her, all of that. But we'll get into that in a second. But stay on this Jordan to Simone thing. Jordan didn't speak when all this
At
was
all.
happening, at all when all this was happening. And
Yeah.
we throughout the episode see like Simone trying to talk to Jordan about the marriage and what's happening with the marriage. And basically, Simone's parents, even her dad, was just like, it should be. Well, Simone's mom was like, no, they should stay married. And then the dad was just like, it should be the kid's decision. And Simone's mom was like fully up on the like, we're gonna start planning the wedding phase. She was
Yeah.
like, the bakers won't notice. What?
Right. Honestly, like they're not gonna notice a big like wedding.
What kind of crack is she? I'm sorry, but like, what she was just like,
Oh
literally, they're so wrapped up in the DA thing that they're not going to notice that a whole entire wedding is planned.
yeah.
I was
She's on something
so
special.
confused. I'm because like you're supposed to look at her as this like strong sort of middle class black woman, which again, Twitter has the best commentary. Somebody was like, I feel
Yeah.
like Simone's mom is like one of those black people.
Yeah, definitely.
And I
I
was
feel
just
it too.
laughing so hard at that. Yeah, well, and it's yeah, it was just weird, and I just didn't understand why she was like they wouldn't notice that a whole entire wedding was being planned. But she was just
Like
like, "Would you like?" Yeah, go ahead.
was she not going to invite them or like what was gonna happen?
Exactly, like the
Like
wedding invitations, the pictures, the engagement photos that I'm sure she wanted to send out.
yeah.
It's just like,
Like
now, which type of red do you prefer? Crimson or whatever the other color was?
I was like,
Yeah,
what did you do? Like someone said that really made me laugh. Like someone's parents really are not doing well at parenting because they had the teenage pregnancy with Simone and then now they have the marriage. I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
Simone's parents aren't doing well at all.
yeah, and they're like their vibes just don't match. It's I don't. They're like married, right? Her parents are still
Yeah,
married,
apparently.
and her dad is just so much nicer. Like I don't get the Simone story, and maybe we'll get more of this like with her spinoff. But her parents
Yeah.
just intrigue me. I'm still can't get over just cannot get over like they won't find out, they won't figure out
Yeah.
that we've planned an entire wedding. That to me was just crazy. But that all being said, like Simone's parents were on board, and obviously Laura was sort of sidetracked for the moment with the annulment, and Jordan was still just like, oh, our parents found out, so that means like, I mean, isn't the marriage over? Like, he didn't say that, but he
Yeah.
basically said that. And I was just like, were you not just at the
And it
table,
wasn't
sir?
yeah. It's like he didn't register that like her parents were on board. And then it's the way he was like, um, oh, the renter found out, so it's over. Like it's like he didn't care. There was no sadness, there was no anger. It was just like, the marriage is over. I was like, what's
Yeah,
going on?
yeah. And I was just like, is this when and the thing is like, I was expecting cracks to start to show.
Mm,
Because again, I just don't, I'm one of those people who don't think that they're going to stay together necessarily. Like if specifically if the pilot gets picked up, which I think there's been good buzz around it,
yeah.
but I just wasn't expecting the cracks to show up in that way. Like Jordan was really rude for the first time ever
Yeah.
to Simone. Like since I don't even think he's ever been that rude. Like even when he was upset with her
Yeah.
last season, like he treated Simone like Simone was Asher. And
Oh, the truth in that statement.
I mean, and speaking of Simone, Simone is out here trying to like get him feeling better, is talking to Asher, who we officially find out does not know about the marriage or about Vegas at all.
Yeah. I was like, no one is telling Asha anything?
No
Like,
one is telling
nothing at
Asher
all?
anything. Not even, or I guess JJ wouldn't know either. I'm assuming that JJ doesn't know. Um, yeah, I think they said that in the episode too. But yeah, no one's telling Asher anything. Asher was just like sitting around looking confused, and then he like confronts Jordan about it, and it's just like we've been best friends since sixth grade. I was like,
Oh,
that is
yeah.
news to me. Like, it's the first time I've heard that on this show.
No, he didn't say we've been brothers since we were 6 years old. Brothers, not just different brothers. I was like,
Bro,
y'all
you
aren't
were
acting like
attacking
brothers.
him, putting him on blast just a couple episodes ago at the cabin. Like,
That's the thing. I was actually thinking the same thing. I was like, no one is telling you anything because it just takes you 2 seconds to get mad and another 2 seconds to spill everyone's secret. So like, who's telling you anything? Like, you can't keep a
and
secret.
like screw something up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody said
because like if you think about like what secret has Asha ever kept, he has not been able to keep a single secret. So no one's gonna
this
trust
is
him.
true. This is true. Well, and so somebody else again, Twitter is just hilarious. They were like, the Baker twins hate Asher. Like once Liv and Asher broke up, Jordan was like, I don't need to hang around this man anymore.
Like, I'm done with this.
Which again, it's just like, why is Billy calling Asher? That just which we're gonna talk about Billy in a second.
Yeah.
I
Do we
just
have to?
that man.
Oh,
That man. Oh my god. But anyway, yes. So that was the whole Jordan and Simone thing. Was she the marriage was supposed to be annulled, it didn't end up getting annulled. Jordan looks like he doesn't want to be in the marriage anymore, at least for right now. He was rude to Simone. Simone's mom is trying to plan a wedding during this same period of time. And
mm,
I don't, so we saw Simone like trying to help Jordan, but we didn't like, I don't, I feel like Simone's personality, and maybe just because there were bigger things going on, but Simone's personality didn't really shine through. Like, she didn't give it back to Jordan, and maybe that's because she thought he was depressed or something, but she really was just sort
yeah,
of timid and shy for the first time
yeah.
ever.
I agree with that. Especially after he was like, I'm nothing without football. Like, why would you still want to be married to me? And I'm like, they should have. I get it. Like Jordan was in a mood, but like there should have been some form of reassurance from Simone. Like
Yeah. Yeah, when he
anything.
was like saying his whole thing to Asher, he was just like, I know, I'm the worst ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was weird. It was weird.
There
It
was like
was
there was nothing like not a handhold, not a hug, not
yeah,
even a pat on the
nothing.
back, nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. So yeah, that left on a weird note, that storyline.
Yeah.
Real quick, we'll touch on Preach and Mo. It's
Mm.
somebody said it took 147 episodes for us to finally like know officially that Mo was evil,
I
and no
know.
one cared when we found.
I know.
We were like, we want to know what's happening with the chart. We want to know what's happening with Spencer and
Oh,
Olivia. What's going on with Olivia and Laura? Like, no one cares about Mo right now.
no one cares like at all. Like I
It
think
just the
in the
build up was
beginning,
so much.
yeah. Like in the beginning, people cared. Like I have a friend that who
Yeah,
watches All American, and she really cared about what's gonna happen to Coop. Like I really
yeah,
don't care about Coop like that, but like she really cared. She was like, "Oh my gosh, Coop is gonna die," and like today she's like, "Eh, okay."
literally.
Like Mo, and no, okay, I don't know. This is something that bothered me personally, but
What? Go
like
ahead. I
I
love
didn't
the
like
tea.
I I didn't like the approach Mo took. You know what I mean? I just felt like she's a smart woman, has been like
Yeah,
secretly planning things behind Coop's back. She has all these people like, you know, whoever that guy was that she was drinking coffee with. And
yeah,
then
the gang
then
member. Yeah,
yeah, and then like her approach with Preach was like she's gonna seduce him, like so she released him from prison, got him released from prison just to seduce him and turn him. Like it didn't make sense to me, you know. I was like,
Yeah, I
they
was
could
just
have,
like, so she has to know if she's been watching this whole time that Preach and
yeah,
Coop are close, but it didn't
yeah,
seem like she didn't seem ingenuine with Preach. Disingenuous?
yeah,
Yeah, she didn't seem
yeah.
disingenuous with Preach.
That
He
like, and
curved
then
her
he did.
so bad.
It was, oh man, it was so embarrassing. It was the thing that made it even more embarrassing was like a few scenes before she was like, "Oh, you have little faith," like she had all this confidence, and then Preach was like, "Nah, miss me with whatever you have going on. I don't want any part of that. I'm gonna head out." I was like, "Oh,
Well, and you know what? It made it embarrassing to me as a viewer. I'm like, they had a whole new set made with this new repping Jamaica, Jamaica.
yeah,
I apologize to all of the Jamaicans for my horrible accent, but
Mm,
I am like a quarter Jamaican. My grandfather's Jamaican, and
yeah,
so that is my homeland. That's my homeland, and I was like, they have a whole new Jamaican restaurant rep in Jamaica,
uh
a
huh."
whole new set only for Mo to be turned down by, I'm sorry to the actor, but short Preach. Like,
Yeah.
when they kid, I promise you it was like an instinctual thing, and it's not about, like, I actually enjoy the actors. But when they kissed, I literally said out loud, ew.
Yeah, it wasn't. No, I get it. There was nothing to. I don't know. It was just weird. It was just a weird kiss going on.
It was, it
It was
was
very
the whole
weird.
thing was strange. But the other thing is because she was just like 2 seconds before, she was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take." She what did she say? I'm gonna like take Coop's life, like she stole my brother's. I'm
Yeah,
gonna steal her life or something like something along those lines. And it was
yeah,
just like, I'm sorry, that was that was what's that was Sean's mom who took Tyrone's life. And we're
yeah,
not gonna act
yeah.
like Tyrone wasn't a menace to society. Like,
Exactly.
what? Like, what did Coop do? Coop ain't do nothing. She put him in jail. She snitched and put him in jail, and then he got out. So Coop had nothing to do with the shooting.
The, she's acting like okay. Well, she snitched and like she put Tyrone in jail, but then she's acting like it was almost like inevitable for Tyrone to end up in jail or dead. Like
Yeah.
it was like that was his
Even though he was a
lifestyle.
part of a
Let's just
whole
be honest.
entire gang, like he was the gang
Yeah,
leader. Like, what?
yeah,
It was just, you mean, I was like, you mean your family stole Tyrone's life? Like, didn't you escape this same life? I'm so confused. What are you?
right. Like
Why are
yeah,
you going after a whole like 17-year-old girl? Like, calm down.
exactly. Like she's just a kid. Like why are you targeting a kid for
Yeah,
something when your brother was just like going around killing people and doing stupid things like that? Someone was bound
it
to kill him
made,
eventually. Like
yeah, it made no sense. It made no
yeah,
sense.
like
So yeah, and then
I
yo, guys,
sorry, yeah? Her whole plan like makes no sense whatsoever.
yeah,
And
she
if
like
they're going
sat
to
on it
like
so long.
yeah, and if they're going to like make her do something big, and I know they've sucked at this, but I'm gonna need some form of explanation, like in the form of flashbacks or like letter writing or something. Like maybe we read a journal because I want to
Hmm.
know like what she was thinking. Just like because I don't care to begin with. So like if you don't give me any explanation to make me care, like I'm really, really not gonna care. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem like, especially again, like with all of the breaks, I know they can't control it, but with all of the breaks, it just was just like this was honestly the last thing that we were thinking about coming off of a break. And so to like
Yeah.
reintroduce that right off the bat was just weird because, the last
Yeah.
3 episodes were so like Olivia centric, and this one was still Olivia centric. And
Mm.
so yeah, it just, and obviously everything going on with Justice for Tamika, and we didn't even get the clip that they showed in the in the trailer with Mo talking about justice for to become like, does she not care about that anymore?
Oh yeah, exactly. Like yeah.
They must have deleted
I didn't
that
notice
for
that.
time. But yeah.
Huh.
Also, Coop wasn't even. I don't think people noticed, but Coop wasn't even in the episode today.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't notice that either. Like it was a good
Like
episode.
no, I didn't see any. I saw people saying "Yay!" Like Vanessa's not here, but I'm like, did nobody
Yeah.
notice that Coop was not in this episode? Where was she?
She's honestly become so like irrelevant this season. Is just no one notices her anymore. You know,
Irrelevant.
like
I mean, hey.
yeah. But
Um.
for a second there, I thought like you know when like Vanessa walks up on Asha on the field, I thought that was not Vanessa. When Simone walks up on Asha on the field, I thought that was
Mhm.
Vanessa, and I was already
Yeah.
annoyed. I was like, what is Vanessa like? She has no reason to be here, and
Yeah.
it ended up being Simone, so that was fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of Coop being absent, I'm like, is that why we got Layla with other characters this episode?
Yeah.
She was talking to Simone. They got her back with Olivia. They were like,
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't notice at first, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, Coop is absent, and this is the first episode. They're finally like, well, Layla, you have other friends slash a friend that
Yeah.
you're in a weird zone with, so
Yeah.
you can have some, you can interact with some other characters today. They've
We'll
done
give
her
you that.
so
Yeah.
dirty this. Oh, but oh my gosh, Layla is hilarious.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, um, so I'm trying to. Okay, so we'll talk about Olivia and Laura finally. So we
Okay.
know that Olivia sort of, came like basically just was just like, I did it. It was me. I want all of the
Yeah.
smoke.
Yeah.
Gilly comes storming home, and what does he do? He yells once again. What is it with that man and yelling at Olivia? And like no other character. He yelled at Spencer what once or whatever, but this man always has the smoke for Olivia. And she was like, apologize to your mother, and she was like, no, thank you.
Yeah. She's
He
like,
was just
not
like,
like she's like, I know I'm fighting for our lives, so I'm not
that
apologizing for anything.
line. She completely excluded. Yeah, she was just like, you should be on my side, sir. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're black. She's white.
Yeah.
Like, we're
Like
standing right there. And Laura grounded her and took away her podcast,
yeah.
and we know that grounding didn't go far because I mean she
Yeah.
stayed at the house, but very
It
quickly
would.
we
Yeah.
get Spencer bringing Kia. Like Kia ain't even been to the house before, and she's coming to the house while she's grounded. Like, but anyway, we have Spencer bringing Kia.
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed that trio. They're trying to plan
Yeah, me too.
what to do
Mm.
what to do next. And Olivia's
Yeah.
like, okay, bet, like let's go, let's do this, boop boop boop. And Spencer's like,
Yeah.
wait, hold on. Says she got in a crash 3 or so weeks ago or whatever. You just back on your sobriety journey. Where's Nurse Joy? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, like
He was just like, are
slow
you in enough
down.
trouble? Slow down.
Yeah.
Are you in enough trouble already?
Yeah.
And she's like, that you right. You right.
Yeah.
Do that.
No,
And
I
Spencer's
like
like,
that. Yeah.
I'll handle it.
Yeah.
Which
I was
a
like,
couple episodes ago, sir, weren't you just saying that you weren't a social justice warrior?
exactly. Like, you know, pick pick a title or something. Like, don't
Pick
say
a
I'm not
title,
this. Then
Spencer.
yeah, like do something. Like, it's okay to say you're a social justice warrior. Like, say it, move on, do your thing. You know?
Which again, as we see, Spencer then goes like on this Spencer being a social justice warrior tip.
Yeah.
He literally like goes to his team and it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, like we should kneel. And they had to have someone be the contrarian. I'm surprised they didn't have it be like Frosto because he was back
Yeah.
after X many episodes.
Yeah.
I was just like, hey, that happens to you in a second. But no, so they had Chris
Yeah.
be the contrarian, and I guess,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
makes for more drama. But Chris was just
Yeah.
like, we have futures to think about, which he was true. Like, he was just like, and
Yeah.
apparently that Billy was just like, yeah, like, people have been suspended at Neil, like, it has affected people's futures. And Chris was just like, I can't be doing all that. Like, sir, you already
Yeah.
have college interest. I'm trying to go to college, and we know that we know this going back to season one that he was really like this is something that he was really pursuing, and because of where he lived, right, this wasn't an opportunity that he had,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so Billy is basically just like, oh, I support, which I was surprised he said this, but he was just like because number Billy just what does Billy care about? Football and
No,
soccer,
like,
like that's
yeah.
it, like
That's it. Yeah.
this man that he didn't even sorry touching back on the Olivia thing, he didn't even
Uh,
have any words to be like, okay, like, oh, from last week when he was just like, maybe we shouldn't think about annulling the marriage right now, where was the like, maybe we should
exactly.
all come, I will not get my foot off
Exactly.
of Billy's neck because this
That's
man, why is he
honestly
so like, I'm not gonna use the word, but I
like
thought of a word. I'm not gonna use it. But why is he always coming for Olivia like so much harder than everybody else?
that's the thing. Like I honestly I understand different parenting styles for different children because not all children are the same. But like it's so polar
Mm-hmm.
opposite. It's frustrating because like with Jordan gets married,
Mm-hmm.
he cheats his concussion protocol. There's nothing but understanding coming from Billy. That's all he does. He understands
Yeah.
Jordan as an athlete, as a son. He understands Jordan, but as a black man, he can't take some of that understanding to understand his daughter and why she felt the need to do something like this. That's the thing that got me. I'm like, you
Yeah.
both like
Yeah.
you both you don't you're sharing like similar struggles because of your race. I know like Billy, you're in Beverly Hills and everything, but you have to face some of those struggles as a black man in America. So why is it that you're not lending any of that understanding towards your daughter and why she needs to do this? And like let's also not forget, like I think Liv has been like doing this podcast thing throughout the summer, and the summer was full of like racial issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure like some of those issues really got to her. She's
Yeah.
been holding it in, and she's just tired. So
That's a really good point.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
she
why is
did
it
bring
like
that
that's the
up
thing, like why is
in the
it
first
Grace
episode. Yeah.
who is understanding Olivia, but her own parents aren't like taking a step back and being like, okay, let's try and understand our child, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is just like even if we're gonna interrupt the Spencer and the Charges because
Yeah.
we know that it was to give a little brief summary on that, they
Yeah.
ended up forfeiting the game after Spencer's knew I'm angry, which was she was one of ours. I could not wait for the memes. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a powerful moment.
Uh,
Loved it. The other team joined them in forfeiting, but
yeah.
obviously we know their season is over, so they're not going to the. But that was that whole storyline. Like the team rallied around him. It was a powerful moment.
Yeah.
But back to Billy. Yes, like at least with Laura, we saw her, and
Mm.
this is why I want to touch on it. We saw her go right and try to go see Billy to talk through this, and
Yeah.
she went to the right person. Her husband, I don't even know where they are right now, but she went to him to go talk, like try to like better understand, and like knowing like we know she could never understand as a white person, but went to go talk it out with Billy.
Yeah.
He is nowhere to be found, just like he was late and non-existent
Yeah.
for the meeting with Jordan and Simone because he was getting his what which sir, why would you schedule that for the same time?
Right?
Like you can very easily reschedule one or the other. Like there was
You
no need to miss to miss it. But this man is always missing in action for
all
his family.
all the time.
Always. Like whenever they need whenever they need him. Like I just, but this man will, journey from Beverly to Crenshaw to go see Spencer if he gets like a finger cut.
Like on
Like
a genuine level. Like he would
I
leave his
just,
house to make sure Spencer's
I
okay.
just
But like his own children, oh no, no,
with a
no.
paper cut, with a
Exactly.
paper
Like
cut. If Spencer was just like, Coach, I got a paper
Billy's on
cut,
his
like
way. But yeah,
literally Billy to the rescue. Like we're gonna talk about
yeah,
this on a podcast. We need a whole podcast episode
you do.
talking about this. But yeah, Laura goes to look for Billy.
Yeah.
He is nowhere to be found as usual. After showing up late and then after yelling at Olivia and
Mm.
not helping the situation at all, and not understanding like where his daughter is coming from, not calming. Like that was his opportunity
Yeah.
to be calm. Like last week we don't need the calm, but like this week we do need the calm. And like you were saying, like your daughter has, been reflecting on these summers of shootings and killings and was very recently, and you know this, right? She was very recently upset that the same thing could have happened to her just a
Mm.
week or so ago in the timeline.
Yeah.
So what, like, why? Like I don't, you have no
Exactly.
word. He had more words for his team about I care for Tim. He didn't say none of that to his family.
That that's the thing. Like I think that's the thing that really annoyed me about Billy, and also that's what also annoyed me about sorry to bring him up, but GW, like
Yo,
Grandpa
yeah, no,
Willie.
no, no, don't apologize. GW is messy
Yeah,
always.
like he was like he's so messy. But then when he was talking to Spencer about how he used to like he was at the riots, he was protesting. I'm like, why aren't you sharing some of those stories with your granddaughter? Like, I'm
Yeah, and
sure
he's
she could
like,
have.
yeah, she's getting in
Yeah,
good trouble. Like, go tell that to
yeah,
Olivia. You literally never talked to
exactly.
her. Like, why are you talking? Why are you talking to Spencer?
Like, why
He
why are you
asked, let
talking
me
to
not.
Jordan? Yeah, okay, yeah, Spencer asked, but like, why are you talking to Jordan? Like, Jordan like, has shown no interest in being like a social justice warrior, like
Hmm.
absolutely none.
Yeah.
But then Olivia has a whole podcast. She spent the summer fighting. She shut down Kathy Crenshaw Kathy, and um, you haven't like spent like at least one moment to be like, oh, I'm proud of you, or like, not like she didn't like. I think she knew what she did was not probably the right thing, or she went about it the
Hmm.
wrong way. But like, she could have used someone to be like, this is some good trouble. Like, this is how we get things done.
Yeah.
Like, like no
And
changes ever
even,
come from. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, just saying like no changes ever come from like, towing the line. Like sometimes you have to get into trouble to like affect real change. Like she could have
Yeah.
used all this from GW, but no, he was worried about Jordan being married. And I was like,
Jordan
okay,
being married, talking to Billy about his mom, which was helpful because we got context for that. But
yeah,
to your point, right? That conversation, uh, that potential conversation between GW and Olivia could have set her the catalyst. Like we know that she later, and we'll touch on this later, but we know that
mm,
she, has that whole thing with Layla, where Layla's reading the script, and she has that whole thing
yeah,
about her how her and her mom had different approaches, right?
yeah,
That
mhm,
would have been a perfect conversation. Like, where did she get that from herself in the
yeah,
show? But she could have gotten it from GW, and she could have, like, that could have
yeah,
been a connection made where he told her like this is good necessary trouble in your mom. But we know GW is never gonna come, like never going to
yeah,
like the mom. Like just he
never.
hates Laura for some reason. And that's the other thing is it's just like you're yelling at your daughter and your father is again coming for your wife who you were just defending a second ago to your daughter, and you can't defend your wife to your father now. Like I just,
Ex- it's
he
really confusing.
literally only keeps this energy for Olivia, and I'm really trying to understand, but it's really frustrating me.
Like, yeah, I'm trying to understand why. But I have a question though, like something I was
Yeah.
wondering. Um, do you think you know how after what the Chargers took the knee and they forfeited the game, GW walks in, the boys did good. He was like almost beaming with pride. Do
Hmm.
you think it would have been the same reaction if it had been Jordan like forfeiting his future and forfeiting the game and possibly like compromising him going to college football and the NFL, do you think we would have seen the same reaction from GW or would have seen something different?
That's an interesting question. And I I have an interesting perspective on GW and Jordan's relationship because we know that GW didn't really have as much faith in Jordan's football
Yeah.
abilities. Like he always was just like you don't want it enough, like you don't
Mm,
um you have to work harder because you have like typical size but like the skill, like you really need to work on your skill. And so
yeah.
I I don't know if he would have like said like you're throwing away your future necessarily as much as like it I let me say it would have just been about like the optics and throwing away the future rather than like ruining his
Mm,
football career dreams because I really GW is one of the people that was most honest about Jordan's sort of not that to
yeah.
say that he was a bad player, but Jordan's sort of lack of sort of natural innate football ability or his dedication to the game.
Yeah. Okay.
But I do
I was
think
just, I was,
he might have been
yeah.
bothered. And I don't know. That's a tough question. What do you think?
No, because I think no. I
Mm,
think he might have he might have appreciated the sentiment, but he might have been like, why would you throw away your future? I think he
yeah,
would have been a bit more upset at at that situation, you
yeah.
know,
And
than
I
he
think he
was with
definitely would have
the
came for
Chargers.
like Billy and Laura more.
Yeah,
Like, how could you
yeah,
let him do that or something like that?
definitely. And like let's just talk about the I don't know if this is the right word, but the irony of GW like teaching someone how to parent. Like, please, please, please.
I yeah, I have no words for that, but we do know that Billy has a little bit of an interesting perception of his father. I keep saying the word interesting, but he has a different perception of his father, and how his father handled his mother's death.
Yeah,
Um, which his father was just like, of course you would remember it like that, and we know that Billy has trauma related to his uh his mother's death. Um,
yeah,
so that was that. Meanwhile, again, uh, because Billy is nowhere to be found, dealing with the Chargers and dealing with his
yeah.
not brain injury. Um,
Whatever
it's
you're
just
dealing with.
exactly. Uh, that man would make up excuses to not be there for his family, but regardless, yeah, Grace gives Laura some advice, and Laura comes
Yeah.
with some tears. Some refer to them as white women tears, and
Mm,
yeah, it was just, but they Grace gave Laura really good advice, and I was happy because one of the things that I was talking about when I was talking about like predictions for this episode, I was just like, it would be it would be a misuse of opportunity if it was all that came out of this were negative consequences. And we know that like Laura's chief of staff came to Olivia and was just like, your mom was going
mm,
to get some cops to talk, and now because you released the recording, now they're backing away. And in my mind, right, in my mind, I was just like, that like
yeah.
is that really her fault though? Like what does the release of the recording do? Like they should still that shouldn't affect them being able to
Yeah.
that shouldn't affect them being able to
Yeah.
still do their jobs and do what's the correct call and speak out on the cop. And this came back around because Grace was just like, I'm sure, because Laura was just like, oh, does my daughter think I'm a racist and all of this stuff.
Mm,
Grace was just like, I'm sure you were trying to work it from internal, like the internal system, which Laura said. And she
yeah.
was like, you don't think the system can change and all of that? And, blah, 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 blah. And Grace was just like, no, like these systems have not been built for us. Like the systems have not
Yeah.
Black people. And so as much as your heart I'm sure was in the right place, I don't think it would have made a difference because the system is a system. And I was just like, yes, like this is what the
Exactly.
people needed to hear because so many people were just like, oh, you know what I mean? Like just all of
Mm,
this stuff about how the case was being built and da 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 da. And I'm just like, wait, like we live this in real life and we know like that
Yeah.
this doesn't like with video the odds are better, like with footage and with public outcry the odds are better,
Mm.
as we saw with George Floyd. But without video, without public outcry, mm, no matter what, them cases just automatically sort of go into the
Ex-
police officer's favor.
that's what I was like. I don't really know much about how like the justice system works over there,
Mhm.
but I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, what if after all of Laura's like hush hush dealings and like getting cops to speak out, what if nothing came of it at the end of the day? Like the footage is still not out and the cops did like testify, but like what if no justice came out of Laura's efforts, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
at the end of
no,
the
and
day?
yeah, yeah, and that's why the conversation from Grace was so necessary because again, I
Yeah,
was just like, they cannot that that speech, that monologue at the end of at the end of 11
yeah,
was super necessary because it was just like, yeah, like these systems are not
yeah.
built for black people. And so Grace is sort of re-emphasizing of that point, which,
Mm.
sorry, another thing that's less important but still equally as important to me in the context of this show.
Uh,
Grace said, me and Olivia talk, honey.
Oh yes, I loved it. I was like, first of all, put that on my screen. But
Literally.
I like first things first, I need that on my screen. But other than that, like I was like, yes, like let them all know. All those people who are speculating about Grace and Olivia's relationship, let them know.
Yes.
These people talk.
They talk. Grace was in
Yeah,
Liv's corner. I was like,
the whole
come
time. Like
through, Grace Livia.
right? I was like, I loved it. She was like, I
Yeah.
loved how she really like she made Laura see Olivia's side without
Hmm.
almost bringing Laura down or like how can I how can I put like I don't know the word I'm looking for,
Yeah,
but like
she
making
wasn't
Laura feel
patronizing, she wasn't
yes,
sort of
yeah,
condemning, she wasn't like judging, but she
yeah,
made her understand in a more clear way what
yeah,
was going on in her daughter's mind, and to say like your daughter could never hate you, and this is
mm,
again, and only because I'm just like, this made me feel good as someone who really tries to study like how TV shows are being told and how scripts are written and stuff like that. But it
mm,
made me feel good because I was, I think I don't remember who I talked about this, maybe Naya, but I was just like, I think this is also just, regular parenting stuff. Like this storyline is also just regular parenting stuff. Like, children realizing that their parents aren't perfect and
yeah,
them sort of coming to a more mature understanding of their parents. And that's
mm,
exactly what we got from this episode,
yeah,
like a parent trying to understand their child and a child coming to understand, like, maybe I don't agree with their methods, but I'm still
yeah,
recognizing that they're fighting in their own way and they
yeah,
have their own belief system and I am starting to have mine. And so I
mm.
I just really appreciated how that storyline unfolded.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Like, I think, I like what you're saying. Like, it's always not a hard day, but it's always a day. Like when you, as a child, when you realize that your mom or your dad, like they're not perfect. They have
Hmm.
their flaws,
Yeah.
and like you come to love each other past those flaws. Because I feel like as a child, you idolize your parents and you love them because of that. But then there's also like now, like I think Olivia and Laura at the place where she can still idolize her mom, but like she doesn't see her as flawless. Maybe the way she would have like when she was a bit younger.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
but
Yeah. No. Completely.
yeah,
Completely. And she
yeah.
still loves
But
her
this,
mom. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. Sorry, because like this is really shifting. So carry on. This is shifting a bit.
What's shifting a bit?
Like, because I was gonna say, like, the other thing I liked about the conversation with Grace, was when she was like, okay, not direct quote, but something about it's not only like the cops who are doing the killing that are the bad apples, but also the ones that choose to stay silent. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I really like that because I think in that sense, it makes you because like when you're only viewing it as like one or two policemen who are doing the shooting and doing the killing, and you're like, okay, it's only two people that need to be taken out the force and dealt with. But then what about the other 50,000 people who are around them and being silent and okaying that behavior?
Hmm.
They too like are becoming bad apples as well.
Exactly, exactly. The
Yeah,
whole sort of false narrative around the bad apples, and what we know about that quote is
yeah,
it's bad apples come from a rotten tree, which
yeah,
again is a structural issue rather than,
mm,
an individual one, which I could get
yeah,
into that. But basically, the world, right? But specifically, we're talking about the United States, has systems, several systems, but most, in fact, all of their systems are are embedded in white supremacy. And
yeah,
so when we're talking about systems, right, in a collection of systems, that really is just like the groundwater or like the foundation of which this country was built on, which is the
yeah,
issue. And it's not like about these individual people, even though there are
yeah,
bad individual people, but it's about like the foundation and the structure with which
yeah,
things have come to be, which is why we're in this
yeah,
place that we're in right now. And so,
yeah.
yes,
And
that was, yeah, go ahead.
sorry, like and I think that's where like Olivia and Laura like differ in their methods to fight for justice because
Hmm.
Laura sees the system as something like maybe like there's a cracked window, I just need to fix the window, or I
Yeah,
just need to fix the pipes, like something that's fixable. Whereas Olivia's like, oh no, the foundation is just as rotten.
yeah,
Like everything is whatever happens, whatever I do to this house, it's not going to stay standing. So I need to knock this down and rebuild. So I
yeah.
think because they see the system so differently, because for Laura, it's like it was a system that was meant to favor her. Whereas
Hmm.
for Olivia, it was a system that was made to oppress her. So they can see it in like in different manners and therefore fight for it differently, the way to
Yeah,
change it.
yeah, yeah. No, for sure, for sure. And I'm
Mm.
gonna get into that when we get to predictions for the next episode. Really quickly, yes, people, I'm gonna talk about it. Olivia and Layla, friends again.
Okay.
I'm gonna insert a gif on this, like on the video part of this, where it's just like me, like looking pleased, while everybody else is annoyed. But we saw Layla. This is like way back earlier in the episode, but Layla was talking
Yeah.
to Simone about she was like trying to check on Liv, and Simone was like, go talk to her. And so she did, and they had that moment where she came in. They spent what seemed like the day together, actually.
Yeah.
Because they ended up watching, they spent a full entire day together because they watched the Crenshaw game together,
Right.
which, how
Yeah.
did
Can we
Layla
talk
go
about that
from
situation?
not wanting to see young Spencer on her screen, like on Coop's laptop, to being
Yeah.
cool with watching a Chargers game next to Olivia?
Yeah. Like, oh,
And then
wow. Okay.
I'm not even gonna lie, I was so worried when Olivia was just like, does your offer to help me or whatever she said still stand? I was like, is she gonna ask this woman to go to the Chargers game? Like, that's a lot. That's a
Oh
big
yeah, that's too much.
but it ended up being not that at all, which kudos to
Yeah.
Olivia for not doing that. That she
Yeah.
respected, in quotation marks, her grounding and had Layla, as we mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
sort of do the podcast where she was talking about how she released the video, but how her mom was fighting in her own way. And we saw Billy and Laura listening to that recording. And this was after, by the way, Laura had finally come for Billy in terms of his parenting and being missing.
Yeah.
And I was so mad because this was such a deserved drag. And then he was just like,
Oh yeah.
I have like trauma related memory issue. I was so mad.
No, like it was not. I wish they had separated those two moments
Same,
because
same.
he does deserve like someone other than GW because we know he can't parent to save as much.
Exactly.
So like, we need someone who's like at least trying to be a parent,
Exactly.
to call him out and be like, okay, dude, like show up for our kids, you know? And
Yeah,
then
she lit and she was
yeah,
like, "Where have you been?" And she was like, "Don't give me football and as an excuse." I was just like, he
yeah,
just deserves a dragging, and maybe Olivia will be the
yeah.
one to give it to him, as she should be.
And I liked how she was like, and don't you dare say it was football. I was like,
Yeah,
yes, like,
exactly, because it. Yes, he deserved the
yeah,
drag. He deserved the drag.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so that is. Oh wait, sorry. Then there was like so that happens. We didn't see Olivia and Laura talk, which I thought we were gonna get them to talk, but it was like 8:55 at that point. So the
yeah,
last scene that we saw was after all of these big things are coming down, like the Chargers just basically gave up their season, and Jordan comes and is just like, you know what, Spencer, I'm sorry, I didn't do anything. I should be apologizing to Simone and Asher and everybody else. But Spencer, I'm sorry, even though I did nothing to you. And
yeah,
and can you train me to come back from my concussion because you're not
yeah,
doing anything anymore.
yeah.
I was like,
Was this?
Jordan,
Yeah. Everything about it, like, oh, God, I don't even know where to start with that.
it literally,
Okay, just, oh,
it's just
like,
there are no words anymore for Jordan.
then
There's
no
just
words.
none. There's none. Somebody
Like,
said if
wow,
there's one thing Jordan is gonna do, it's make a bad decision.
exactly. Like, wow, like, you can't. I don't even approach that. Like, ah, like the thing is, like, what? Oh, okay. I have nothing to say. Like, wow.
Nothing to say. Thanks for listening and sticking with us through that conversation where we reviewed episode 12. I'm going to also upload our conversation about predictions for the next episode from what we saw from that trailer. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time.